Welcome back to episode number 5. I don't know how to say 5 in another language. Of Target Score Brampton. I'm your host, Matt Bonomi. This is not D today. It's actually the founding father, Joey Slattery. I'm actually going to call you Joey, not Rocca Slattery. You know why I'm saying that to you?
No.
So, this is your interesting fact of the day, Joe. You're going to get interesting stuff on this podcast. This is one of your tidbits that you're going to pick up. The first of many. Joe Rocca played for the Brampton Honey Badgers. Played for the Honey Badger organization. The only Joe, Joseph, or Joey in CEBL history.
Really?
Let me just drop this mic.
Okay, that's
Look it up. Fact check it. Fact check. I hear those keys going. Fact check it. You fact check.
okay. Actually, no. You know, no. I think I actually know, which is funny. I'm pretty sure I went to school with his brother-in-law. Now that it's come to fruition, I actually thought you were dropping some sort of Sopranos.
Nah, that's not how we roll.
Way too deep on this, but no, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I know his brother-in-law. So that I actually do recognize that even closer than you probably would have thought. I thought you were just going to go with discount D.
No, not D. No, nothing. Discount D would have been good. Demoralizing. We had a lot of them, but I don't know what we want to roll on. Anyway, we have the best.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, D grade. No, all of it. Anyway, the new D for this episode is Joey Slattery. Happy to have you, Joey. The founding father of the Target Score Podcast Network. So thanks for filling in for D, and we hope this would be permanent, but unfortunately, probably not the case because you're a busy guy.
I'm to be here, though. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow Target Score Pod on Instagram, Target Score Pod on YouTube, or podcast on YouTube. New episodes every Wednesday and constant content on all socials. You can also check out Target Score Winnipeg with the one and only Joey Slattery and Taylor Not Teddy Allen, and Target Score Vancouver with Chris Wiggins and Andrew Savory. And our special guest today, who's joining us, the hometown kid, Danilo Djuricic. That's going to be an exciting conversation.
Yeah, big time, and pretty exciting week across the network because I'm pretty sure all of the guests are from our hometown heroes of each podcast. So we've got a Bramptonite, we have Winnipegger in Winnipeg, and believe they have Grant Shepard in Vancouver, who is from Kelowna. And Vancouver just played the first ever pro basketball game in Kelowna. What are the two cool firsts this year? Kelowna had their first pro basketball game, and a little bit later, I think early July, there's the game in Whitehorse. That'll be the first game in the territories professionally played basketball. So that's pretty big year for the CEBL from that front in terms of growing the game.
Little Shep, a little homegrown seasoning there, or home seasoning, I should say, maybe. What about Yukon in the summer? Is it hot? Is it cold? That might be a really bad question. I should probably know that.
Yeah, super not Canadian of you. It is cooler for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the area where if you're up there, it's pretty much daylight all day and night because you're super far north, right? So you're there in the summer. Like, I don't think you get a lot of nighttime or darkness, or very little darkness, if any, at that time of year. So yeah, you could like have that game at 2:00 in the morning, I guess, and it would still just be play outdoors.
Yeah, this is what happens when you don't go north of the GTA. You just don't see what's going on.
Yeah, Barrie's about as north as Canada gets for you, eh?
Yeah, I thought that was the most northern point. But anyway, speaking of north and moving upward, I'm going to move downward. Right here, 7-1, Brampton on the season.
Yeah.
Hottest team in the Eastern Conference right now. They had a big win the other day over Edmonton, 87-86. They snuck it out after that tough loss to Vancouver a couple of days earlier. Cam Tyson, 27 points, 6 of 14 from 3. Shawnee's 22 points, 7 assists, 35 minutes. But this was a test, Joey. This was like a new kind of look for us. Like, we had been used to the cookie cutter kind of everything. Throw the team out there, win. Throw the team out there, win. Same lineup, win. Yada, yada. New look lineup. Josh Omajafo got the start. Keon Ambrose Hilton got the start. Both first starts of the season for those fellas. Omajafo was filling in for Tyrese Hunter, who was away from the team for personal reasons for a couple of days, so they wanted to ease him back in. And then Keon Ambrose Hilton was a better matchup against Isaiah Moore, so he replaced Prince Odro, which was awesome. So Prince adjusted obviously really well off the bench, but it was exciting to see, as did Hunter, exciting to see those two guys that have earned minutes too, for sure.
Well, in Ambrose Hilton, there's the added layer of that he played for Edmonton too, right? So there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say revenge, but there's certainly some dramatics going into it. And I know, someone had made note on the broadcast that there was not a lot of chatter before the game between head coach Jordan Baker and the Stingers and former teammates. But the one thing I always say, Edmonton's always a dangerous team. It doesn't really matter what their record is, and we saw that a year ago when they, seemed like they were out of the playoffs, go on some amazing run, and nearly beat out Calgary in that play-in game last year in the West. But when you're playing the Edmonton Stingers, like you're playing a tough team, a team that prides itself in defense and just work. They're that blue collar gritty team, and you have to grind out for those wins. I thought that Brampton played really well, and fact of the matter is, you're not going to blow everybody out, right? I think these are the games that you could take a lot more from it. They, scored a little bit below their average, held Edmonton to about their average in terms of points against, but it was a real test, and I think they like it's really hard to point anything. There's not a lot of negatives that come out when you're looking at Brampton, and I think just to your point, a couple new starters coming in, better matchups, really exploited the depth of this Brampton team too, right? Like the guys like Sean East really take up a big part of the conversation nationally.
Yeah.
And the team is much more talented than that, but just the background of Sean East coming from Edmonton, he was the runner-up MVP. Seems poised to be in that conversation again, if not take it, and really picked up from where he left off last year. Not to mention he played in the not the Young Stars game. What are they calling it now? The Rising Stars game for NBA All Star Weekend, right? So I mean, this guy's on a high. He's bringing a lot of a higher profile with him this year, and he's really lived up to it. But you got to credit the team they built, and that's without Jameer Nelson Jr. And that's the part that like really kind of boggles my mind at this point. If and when he's here, that's a guy that was the defensive player of the year. You've got arguably the best backcourt in this entire country, and they're already 7-1. Right. And I
Mhm.
know there's some big signings that are expected to be announced in the West as well, particularly with Vancouver. So, it's right now, I think, looking on the outside, looking into these teams, I think most people would agree right now the favorites from each conference would be Brampton and Vancouver. And that's no discredit to Scarborough. I want to put that out right away. But when you break down, where they are, Brampton's played a couple more games, but for me with Brampton, Sean East is not a guy known for the rebounding, let's say, and rebounding has been a very strong part of Brampton's game. They lead the league in that regard. They lead the league in offensive rebounds, and I look back at that Winnipeg game being based in Winnipeg. That's exactly where Winnipeg lost that one possession game to Brampton. Right,
Mhm.
was offensive rebounds that they were able to track down. It's been a real strength that I don't know if we were expecting to be at this high of a clip. But we talk a lot about the scoring. Their scoring's been okay, right? They're averaging 90 points. It's not the best in the league. They're really good defensively, really sound already. And like I said, you bring in the reigning defensive player of the year. That's going to be another tool to an already strong defense. But right now, looking in, you have a lot to be optimistic about in Brampton. Simply because you're 7-1 already, and you're not even at the expected complete team. So this is a team that's been absolutely rolling. And there's no reason to believe that it's going to slow down, because I think if this were a flash in the pan, it would have slowed down already.
Yeah, absolutely. You summarized that perfectly. I mean, for me to be speechless, pretty darn good, Joey. Pretty darn good. I mean, again,
Yeah, take that, D.
yeah, I was gonna say revoke D's whatever credentials, get him off the pod immediately, please, permanently and immediately. Yeah, that was obviously again hard fought win, and a win is a win is a win, right? So then Brampton goes on the road. They get their first taste of the back-to-back defending champs, Niagara River Lions, pull out a 97-86 win in a game that was never really close, 27-point lead at one point for Brampton. But the story of this one, like, again, I'm so perplexed by this all the time. When Sean East can put up 24 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists, and you're like, okay, someone did better than him. Cam
Yeah,
Tyson, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 9 threes. So in the opener this year, he broke Christian Vital's single game record in Honey Badger history with 8 threes. And then he just smashed his own record that he set, and he hit 9 threes. I mean, that guy is like, we had him on the pod last week, and to listen to like the guys that he's learned from, the people, like he was like neighbors with Zach Levine. He's talking
right.
about how his brother and his dad were so big in his life. And like I said to him, I'm like, yeah, like the scouting report for you is literally don't like let you inside the perimeter, don't let you outside of the perimeter. And he was like, well, it's kind of crazy how like I'm thinking like that's kind of nuts how that's a thing. It should be the other way around, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. I would guess, but for a guy like that, it's like it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Totally. I mean, and that was a great interview, by the way. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, might have missed that one. Go back and listen to that interview. Really interesting, upbringing on the West Coast, as you mentioned, Zach Levine, and how like it wasn't even his passion to play basketball until later in life, which is crazy to think, and just how effective he's been. But when you have a guy making 9 threes, uh, safe to say you're having a good time. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot you don't have to worry about. And that has been, he's one of the other guys on this team that, I don't know how much outside of Brampton people were, super stoked about it or whatever the case may be. But another player that, plays such a high profile role, right? Like being that
Yeah.
shooter, having that knockdown shooter is huge in this league. There are some teams that really depend on that 3-point ball, right? And you have a guy that's nailing 9 of them in a game is wild. And here's a guy that is he's quick, he's athletic, he's got the experience. But I think in that game too against Niagara, like the significance of that win for me is Niagara is a little struggling out of the gate. They started later than everybody else.
Mhm.
They're below 500, but they're a team that is scrappy and is feeling the urgency a little bit earlier than they probably would have expected at this point. And this is a team that you're very likely going to play in the playoffs. And to have that kind of assertion of being able to exploit those weaknesses, you take a lot of clout with you going into that one. There's a lot of doubts for Niagara coming out of that one, thinking of those matchups coming ahead. They have more to figure out. And if you're Brampton, now it's just a matter of, okay, how do we keep this going? We figured it out. Now we just got to make sure we can maintain this and make sure that when it gets to playoff time that we still have these weapons. But I don't think it's anything schematic. It's just this team is so talented and so effective that you can know what play they're going off or where the ball's going to, and it's still hard to stop.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy part too is like we said, like you said, the get into the depth of this team too. They ran that same starting lineup again with Omajafo and Ambrose Hilton. Omajafo had 19 points and Ambrose Hilton went 7 and 7, 7 points and 7 boards. So they blended so well. Big statement win on the road against Niagara. And they got it rolling. They got it rolling. So I'm going to ask you something now, Joey. And again, I don't want D to take this personally. I think he's going to think it's a height joke. You can't see how tall he is at home because he's only on screen, chest up here. Come out to a game at CAA Center. You can really check it out. Um, but you see over top of all of the Eastern Conference stuff, all the hype, right? Like in Ontario here, we're like, man, Brampton, Scarborough, Brampton. It's going to be back and forth, but we think Brampton has the edge. What is the perception of this Honey Badgers team from your point of view? And again, Winnipeg play-by-play guy, you see a lot of Western stuff. What's your perspective on this Brampton team? Can they be a real threat, you think? Obviously,
Yeah.
you said it's not a flash in the pan at 7-1. It would have burned out by now. But what's your kind of, I would say maybe your highest point or your peak for this Brampton team?
No, I don't think it's a stretch to say that, they were the early favorites even before the season. If you're putting the predictions down of just the roster they were able to build this offseason, and the skill that they have on both ends of the floor, like even a Keon Ambrose Hilton, like you watch him play in Edmonton last year, like this guy was a strong role player, right? Can fill in as a starter, can come off the bench. He's a presence inside, both defensively and offensively. Like it's a pretty complete team. And Alex Serta really seems to have these guys clicking a lot, right? In terms of just the camaraderie that they seem to have. They seem to be having fun, but there's a professional note to it, right? Like it's not too much fun, if that makes sense, at least when you're watching it on the broadcast and seeing the kind of style that they bring. But Scarborough was a bit of a surprise simply because we didn't know what their team was going to look like up until like a day before training camp where
Quite
they released
literally,
every
yeah.
roster, right? And they've built a great team. It's very offensive heavy. You can look at the point differential, for instance, right? And this isn't the be all end all, but you know Brampton has scored 39 more points than they've allowed, and that's by far tops in the league. The second is 26 for Scarborough. Scarborough scores more points in a game, but Miles Powell is a huge reason for that. They're not a
Mhm.
one-trick pony, but that's a lot of points on one guy if he's not in the lineup, whether it's I don't know summer league or whatever else there is. Not saying he's going to summer league, but it's a guy that provides a big brunt of the points. He's hard to stop, and he's a huge focal point for defenses. But I think Brampton is built for that team, and I would love to see them go head to head as is, healthy in a conference final. I think that would just be huge ratings and huge scenes for the CEBL in the East. But no, I think the East has also gotten stronger this year. I think for the
Yeah.
last couple of years, it was kind of, Niagara and, that's pretty much it. Scarborough, Niagara were kind of the big teams in the East. They have a few great players, but they'd kind of roll through the East. And then the West was always a little bit more congested, right? Like a team fighting for that last playoff spot might not have a record that far from top spot, making it that much more competitive through and through, right? And we saw that last year with Calgary. They almost lost at home to Edmonton in that play-in game. Then they go to Vancouver, where Vancouver's the heavy favorites, and yeah, like there's controversy around that game and everything else, but they still won, right? And the controversy only exists because it was close.
Mhm.
So this year, I think there's a little more parity, like west to east. We don't talk about Ottawa ever. And Ottawa to me is a team that's, I'm looking at they're 500 right now at 4-4, but they played a lot of close games. And, guys like Javante Smart on that, Cleveland on that team as well, Fudge. Dude, we talk a lot about Scarborough and Brampton, but, I would not want to play Ottawa as I know them right now in the playoffs. I think this is a team that can upset anybody. They're flying incredibly under the radar right now, but they've quietly put together a good team. Even Montreal, like I look at Montreal, another team that's struggling at 3-5, but they are talented. They just added Davion Warren from Winnipeg, who left Winnipeg going there. I mean, Montreal is last in the East right now, and I'm still looking up this team. Like I watch a Montreal game, and I'm entertained. Like I'm
Mhm.
kind of trying to figure out why they're not winning more games. But yeah, no, the East is a lot stronger. I think the West this year is taking a bit of a dip in that sense. You look at Calgary 0-7, just fired their head coach in Perry Wang. Trying to figure out this is a team that is perennially good. Like they've every year since they've been in Calgary, this team has been in the Final Four. So we're not used to seeing them lose 7 in a row, let alone not have a single win. And then Saskatoon struggling too, going through their rebrand. But again, another team, when I look at Saskatoon, way better than their record would suggest. But the East, though, and Niagara, I mean, 3-4, they're going to figure it out. I have no doubts in that. Niagara is not a team that we're not talking about because they're under the radar. We just kind of know that it's early in the season, and once they get clicking, they're two-time defending champions for a reason. But Brampton is the top team for my, and I'm not just saying this to pander to the Brampton audience. I think Brampton is the team to beat this year. As speaking right now, what are we recording on June 8th, 2026? I think Brampton is the early contender for team to beat.
Clip it. Thing with Niagara too that I'm excited to watch too is when Khalil Ahmad comes knocking and
Yeah.
that door opens. That will be an absolute treat for the East. I think
Well,
it's going to be a bloodbath.
we got him, but then you've got Jameer Nelson Jr., who is, does it at both ends of the floor, but really prides himself on defense. Even in the West, right? Like, are we going to see someone like a Mitch Creek come back, who was the reigning MVP in the CBL? Still no word on that. There's other players that will be coming down the pipe in teams right across the board, but I know there's at least a few in Vancouver that are likely going to be announced. And then in Winnipeg, we still have Xavier Moon that hasn't arrived. Same with Isaiah Osborne. So this league is only getting better. And I think that's the nice part about this new season and it starting earlier. It's a little weird to get used to, but guys are arriving late. But this year, I think might be the epitome of what the CBL wants from a championship game or a playoff run. All of the star players should be here.
Are you a fan too of the new playoff format? Like obviously now it's
Yes,
home team gets like higher seed gets the 3-game series. You get the 2 games at home. You like that, Dan? I think that's
I
like
do.
way cooler. I mean, to just have like again, throwing it in a random city when you're a newer league makes sense.
Yep.
Exposure, that kind of thing. You get to kind of pick where you want to be, but it is so much cooler. It gives you that kind of feel like it's like, oh my gosh, this kind of reminds me, and I hate to say it because this is a Canadian league, but of the NBA. Like it gives me that playoff kind of feel or pro sports feel.
Now, I will say this. I would not be opposed of the league going to revisit that down the road. I do think there's
Okay.
something very Canadian about, uh, uh, yeah, like a host city kind of tournament style championship. You look at the Memorial Cup, the Grey Cup, it's neutral site, but that was the problem. It wasn't neutral site for one team, kind of like the Memorial Cup. It was to sell tickets. I get that, but by and large, the team that was hosting didn't do well in this in that format. Uh, I would have liked to have seen it if they were to ever go back to the championship weekend. I would like it to be the game, not a Final Four, and I would like for the conferences to be a little bit bigger, right? Like that's the game. It's kind of like the CFL. If you're a CFL fan, like you want to host the conference final. It's a big deal. It's always a sellout, and they have the celebration. You can have an East and a West trophy, have a little presentation there, sell some merch, get the championship t-shirts out, conference championship hats. I would love to see that. But the reason why I love this now is because the league has grown. I don't think you're dependent on that anymore. The fan bases are more secure. Every team is an owner. And I don't think it would come as any surprise as your biggest money making games would be a championship game or a playoff run. So there's added incentive to finish higher, in the division, which is, probably a bit of a byproduct as to why we're seeing so much stronger teams this year and more parity across the league. But I also like the championship being best 2 out of 3 because you can carry the storylines, right?
Mhm.
Like if something happens in game one, it's not a one game elimination. Who's the pressure on in game two, right? What does this team have to do to get back in it? Oh, they won the bottom seed team or the lower seed team won their first game at home. Now they have to win 2 on the road. Can they do it? Like there's just so many natural storylines in a series,
Mhm.
even if it's just the best of 3. But I think a 3-game series can, and I really hope we get it. Whoever ends up in the finals, if we get a back and forth 3-game series this season where you've got 2 of the 3 games or within 2 possessions, I mean it could make for some theater, and it's at a time too in August where there's not any championships going on, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, whatever. I think it'd be a great opportunity for the CBL to be showcased at an even higher level, and it's also nice because with the national television audience, you watch that one game, you're excited for game two because you know the players, right? If you're not a fan
Mhm.
of the 2 teams that are in it, now you have storylines that you can carry over to game two. You know what you're looking for. And if you're lucky enough to get to game three, you might even have some skin in there now. You found yourself falling in love with one team or the other, or one city or the other. And now you find yourself rooting for a team that's not even in your market, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for the CBL to grow from a marketing perspective and things like that. But I just think it's going to be great basketball. And you and I are broadcasters, nothing better than storylines that write themselves, right? Makes the broadcast better, makes the product better, and these games will carry over one after the other. So these guys can learn to hate each other pretty quick, especially if it goes 3 games.
One of the interesting things too with that 3-game series and that I've heard from a lot of people that I didn't really think of. That's a great point by you, by the way. All that, like stretching it out, creating kind of a narrative around the series. Fans love the storylines, like you said. But what I've heard from a lot of people is this could also potentially work in the CEBL's favor. It's like when one of the downfalls, obviously, of the league in the past, and they've had to deal with this, is the fact that when overseas seasons start, players have to go, whether it's for insurance or start of season, or they want you there, they have the rights to you as a
More
player.
money.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of like I've heard this will attract or maybe change the minds of players to say like, "Hey, well, I want to be in a 3-game series. Like, I'm not going to just play." Like, it's easy to bail on one game, I think, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
guys doing that, but I think in the human mind, it's like one game. Why am I going to stick around? Versus 3 games where it's like I'm in this, I want to play. Like, it's more of a reason kind of behind it. I don't know if that sounds weird, maybe, but the idea that like it's not just a one and done kind of thing and like, oh, we lose, it's over, whatever, I'm going to be free tomorrow. But this is kind of like there's unpredictability. Are you going to go 3? Are you going to stay 2? Like that kind of thing, which I'm curious to see how that works too.
Well, I think it's definitely incentive, right? Because if you're trying to prove yourself for that next contract and G League, NBA, whatever the case may be, it's nice to have some series data behind that as well, right? Like how did you respond from game one to game two? Like there's all these, other factors that you read between the stats that scouts would like to see. So I definitely think, it would be a bit of a motivating factor, I guess, to sign in
Yeah.
the CBL. And I'm just thinking like this right now, and I'm going to go back to what you're saying about championship weekend. Like that'd be the other cool thing, right? Like I don't know if you've ever been to a Grey Cup, but they've got a Grey Cup festival, and it's like every team is represented there. They have parties. It's wild. It's so much fun. And I'm thinking, what if you made that championship weekend a best of 3? Right, built around a festival on that neutral site, like that could also be a lot of fun because there's a lot more. I think the one benefit that will be missed a little bit in terms of not having a championship weekend is you can't market it a year ahead of time, right? Like you lose the announcement, which is, you get a little media there and the market that is hosting, you get some national attention. So there's a couple like media PR opportunities missed, but like, yeah, I think you could still make a series work. It's just instead of having it a best of 4 or like a final 4 rather, maybe you just have the best of 3 as the championship on that, because I can tell you like the Winnipeg championship weekend last year, like the most fun was really everything around the games, like the festival they were able to pull off out in Winnipeg was a lot of fun. But I do think having a series is best maybe in basketball, particularly. It's not football, right? We're not a one game elimination type sport, generally speaking. So I
Mhm.
think, especially in that more important one, you can't win by a fluke. You actually have to earn that championship by winning 2 straight games. So even if you are the underdog, you can't make the argument, well, they didn't show up that game. Well, okay, they didn't show up game one, but they had game two to show up, right? Like, and make the adjustments. So I think there too, it just adds a little bit more credibility to the winner, so to speak, if there were any doubt for a bad game on the other team.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you one of the brightest minds in the Canadian League Basketball League, Joey Founder
Joe
Slot.
Razzo? Where's Joe Razzo?
Close, Joey Slattery, him as well. Brampton 7-1, obviously, as you see up top. They will head on the road and face Montreal, a 3-5 Alliance team, on Wednesday, June 10th. Next 4 of 5 games for the Honey Badgers are on the road. Only home game in that stretch is again against Niagara, and we will have that game for you on Monday, June 15th. First 6 of 7 games were at home, which is kind of funny too. Real front-loaded schedule. But you know what they say? Road games are where you really see who the real teams are.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've not touched on so far, as we're kind of breaking down this part of the season for Brampton, is they played a lot at home. Now I'll say this though, right? In Winnipeg for the first 2 years of the first three, home was a huge advantage. There was a year where they lost, I think, every game but one on the road, and they won all their games at home essentially, and that was the difference of them getting into the playoffs. So there's definitely an advantage to that, and I will say, though, not being on the road might actually speak to how close this team is. They've not really had a ton of time to be away from, home base and going to explore a new city, or, sharing the airports and planes together, hotels, things like that. So, there's still some benefits to playing on the road, too. I think the other thing, too, is a lot of what I hear a lot in Winnipeg from players, coaches is everybody brings their best game to Winnipeg. If you've never seen a game in Winnipeg, it's just, they play in the NHL arena. They average anywhere from like 6 to 8,000 fans a game. They've had as much as, 11,000, whatever it was. So, it's big time, and a lot of players come there motivated. I don't think Winnipeg gets any team on their worst day when they're playing in Winnipeg. Whereas I feel with Brampton, that is a little bit of the advantage. It's less now because the atmosphere has totally changed in Brampton. But that, like, I think the hardest thing to get, to kind of get up for if you're a pro is like those day games, or coming from a market where you played in front of 5,000 people, and then you'd have to go to a smaller audience and things like that where it's a little quieter. I think there's a bit of an advantage to that for sure. But I think that will be a good test though. Get on the road for a few, hit that adversity on the road where you can't go home to your own bed. You can't, the video sessions are on the road, whether it's in the hotels or in a conference room, whatever the case may be, that'll be a good test. But I wouldn't take the credit away for the record. It does help that you're playing at home, but I have a really hard time saying it's because they played at home. Definitely some benefits, and they probably had some friendly home bounces on a couple shots here and there. But this team is really good, and I don't anticipate that a road trip is going to derail this by any stretch.
All right, so we got you on the pod. We got the last couple of games broken down. We got a D chirp in, and I think the only thing we're missing now is a Danilo Djuricic interview. Are you ready to? Are you ready to talk to him, Joey? That was almost a tongue twister.
Yeah, I am so ready to do this.
I guess I'm not. Anyway, let's talk to him. Super excited to welcome in our guest, Danilo Djuricic. Danilo, welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Matt, Joey, for having me. Looking forward to getting down to business.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. So 5 years for you in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Obviously, you're playing in your own backyard in a way. You're a GTA guy. Is it crazy to kind of say to yourself some days, man, I've playing 5 years of pro basketball league in Canada?
100%. I mean, when I reflect on it, it's flown by, obviously. Playing for 2 different teams now, back at home, actually, where, my journey in basketball began in Brampton. For things to come full circle and be here for my 5th season is incredible, and we're off to a great start. So hopefully that continues.
What kind of responsibility do you feel with that? Just being someone from home? Because I imagine growing up, you didn't have this experience, right? Where you could go see a pro team and see someone, that is from your own backyard playing professionally. Do you feel some added responsibility there, being kind of a pioneer in that point?
Absolutely. I definitely do. I mean, growing up, the only team, available for us was the Raptors or the 905 back when, the G was, I guess, starting up. But when I was really young, it was just the Raptors. And Basically, now that there's another pro basketball league and we're much more accessible than the NBA is, I feel like, I want to be able to make impact on the youth that come to, watch games, whether it's in Brampton or anywhere else in the CEBL where we're playing. But definitely making myself accessible, representing, my hometown of Brampton, my family, and more, every time I step out there on the floor, definitely feel that responsibility and, excited to take that on.
You have one of like the cooler, I think, basketball journeys. I say this to D all the time because we're mesmerized by like someone will play somewhere in the States in a school that we watch on like March Madness or we watch on TV or that kind of thing. And Joey, for some background here, St. Mike's College, Danilo just used to school us all the time in basketball tournaments. I said to him the other week, I'm like, every time I saw him in the gym, I'd get PTSD. They would back us up for like 50-point win. But St. Mike's College, then you go to Harvard, Santa Clara, and then you play overseas, and then you come back, obviously, like you said, home. But what was the emotion like? What was the process like in coming back to Brampton, and what was your kind of reaction initially to kind of the process of signing with this team?
Yeah, I mean, there was mutual interest from the jump. And, when the opportunity had come for me to speak with Al and, with Rock and then eventually with Coach Serta and then a lot of other people within the organization, it was, a match made almost in heaven for me. So being able to come home and play, like I said, where my basketball journey began, it was funny. In training camp, we were at Sheridan College. And when I actually started playing house league basketball, it was in the exact same gym. So like, and I had my hair down here. It was literally, I remember my mom always tells a story to people when they, hear about our first time playing basketball. My brother and I played on the same house league team, and we both had really long hair. And there was a mom in the back that said, "Oh, look at those two girls playing. They're so good." And my mom turned around and was like, "Those are boys and those are my boys." But to have that happen in that gym and then, be able to play, for a professional team in my hometown, there's no better feeling. And to be able to represent my hometown at, a professional level is incredible. So definitely happy to be back and super excited to be in Brampton.
Also, we had a taste of the hair because we during the
school day game, right?
Game, they pulled that up on the broadcast. That was awesome.
That was 8th grade me. So that was a few years. That was a few years past when I started playing basketball. I started playing in 5th grade. That was 8th grade me. So maybe had a little bit more inches on the hair.
Okay.
But yeah, there we go.
I will say when I had in junior high school, I learned that I had curly hair and I can grow an afro.
Mm-hmm.
And my basketball team had a tournament and I dyed it orange. So at one point in time, I had an orange afro. And when I graduated, I had an afro from high school. I had an afro so big that a woman had to stand behind me to like hold the hat on my head. Like I couldn't even put the grad cap on. And if I could grow that again, I probably would.
That's legendary. I love that. I want to see a picture after.
Okay, and we'll do it. If you ever want to do it while you can, Danilo, because you never know how long this is going to last. This
fair enough.
Lofty hair. But I want to go back to your Harvard education, going to Harvard and what comes with that. I've heard stories from athletes. I know one personally who didn't go play hockey there at one point because of how difficult it can be to be playing at an Ivy League school like Harvard. How much did that weigh into the decision of, wanting to be the student athlete? Like, how difficult was it to be a varsity athlete at a school like Harvard when, academics is just so, far and away the number one thing about Harvard?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I had great kind of preparation in terms of my foundation that was laid at St. Michael's College School. Actually, it was a term school, so I had 8 courses year round. And I actually was living in Brampton, commuting from Brampton to go downtown. So that played a lot into developing some discipline and good work ethic and great habits, right? So honestly, when I went to Harvard and I was able to like roll out of bed 15 minutes before class and then walk to class, as opposed to hopping on the GO bus at Bramalea and then going to Yorkdale and taking 4 stops at the subway from Yorkdale to St. Clair West, it was honestly it was one of the easier things that, came in that process, and it saved me a lot of time actually. So I was well prepared in that sense. My parents always harped on the importance of education. Both of them never really finished any, post-secondary education. So they wanted better for my brother and I. And I just felt I was really well prepared. I didn't find it too much of a struggle. They have great resources at, Ivy League schools for you to help you succeed. And, whether that's office hours, it's tutoring, different resources that can help you succeed. So, I mean, I felt I was very well prepared and I didn't have too much trouble while I was there, which was good.
And what was your obviously you hopped to Santa Clara after that. I think it was your last year at Harvard was the COVID year.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So then what was the connection to Santa Clara? Like, was there a desire to kind of go west, or what was your kind of attraction to that school?
It ended up being a pretty awesome opportunity in terms of what was, offered to me in terms of, a 2-year MBA paid for. And, it was an opportunity to play with an elite squad. The Josip Vrankic was there, a Canadian who was going into his 5th year. And Jalen Williams, J-Dub, was there during the time that I was there. And the 2 months that I was there, I actually didn't end up staying for the year. I actually had some things come up that, kind of took priority in my life, and some family things I had to kind of prioritize. So I actually left Santa Clara after summer workouts, and then started my pro career a little early. So I went to the Czech Republic.
I wanted to before we get to your journey into post there and what's brought you to where you are today. I want to just touch on the fact that you're playing in Canada. We talked about playing here for 5 years, and having that as a reality. But what's been the biggest, I guess, benefit of playing in Canada for you as a Canadian? Being able to travel from coast to coast. Is there anything aside from the basketball itself that has made this experience maybe a little more special playing professionally at home?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that I've been able to see Canada has been something that's been awesome as well. I actually haven't traveled anywhere further than Quebec, actually, prior to playing in the league. So it's definitely given me a greater glance at, the beautiful country that is here, and being able to obviously meet a lot of cool people. Basketball has done that, wherever I've been, but definitely playing at home and having, I guess, a different level of a platform that I would if I went, overseas. Just, being a Canadian and playing in a professional league, it's meant me to connect with a lot of, amazing people all around. So that has been awesome. So many benefits, truly, but definitely the people that I've been able to meet, and then being able to see a lot more of the country that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to otherwise. So.
And you're always regarded, it seems like anybody we talk to will talk about you in obviously the highest ranks, and just number one, a nice guy, a great teammate, somebody that you want in your locker room. What kind of a role do you think you have with the Brampton Honey Badgers? Like, how would you describe if this was, let's say this was a job interview and I said to you, Danilo, tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of role on the court do you, and in the off the court as well, do you think you have with the Brampton Honey Badgers?
I think you mentioned it, Matt. The leadership presence is something, I take great pride in. Being my 5th year in the CEBL, I possess a lot of leadership qualities that, others may not have been able to experience just due to the, difference of me playing here for a long time. I feel like I can connect with anyone, try and, whether it's through jokes or through basketball itself, I try to connect with everyone that I'm around and show appreciation to staff, teammates, leadership, whoever it is. And, I really try to be a connector, both on and off the court in terms of, my play, and never been one to kind of, worry about the box score. I've always been trying to, do little plays to help my team win. So if that's setting good screens, boxing out every possession, whatever the case may be, trying to be a connecting piece on the court, and then off the court, the same thing, with my, vocal leadership, teaching guys, guiding them along the right way, and just making sure that guys are always connected. That's something I truly value, and I've seen it in terms of the teams that I've had success on and won championships on. They happen to be the most connected. So definitely trying to bring that here and bring a championship back home to Brampton.
How important is that role off the floor? And I just go back because I look, being in Winnipeg and seeing particularly Chad Posthumus, before we lost him, the role that he played and has really been taken on by the other Winnipeggers on the team. But having that sense of, hometown pride and experience, a lot of people talked about his ability to connect the team just by getting them involved in the community. Even not in ways that, might have been grandstanding or anything like that, but just, going to the right restaurants, understanding like what makes the city special. Do you feel any of that of a role, or that similar of a role falling on you with this team? Or do you find that sense of it being easier to be a leader off the floor when you could kind of be a resource as well?
Absolutely, Joey. I want to say first off, rest in peace to the gentle giant. Chad was an amazing player, but overall even better person, which is, crazy to say. I've had an experience being able to go to a senior national team camp with him. We actually ended up both getting cut, but we stayed friends and always connected in our years playing the CEBL together. So Chad's a great example of a leader. I know that through his time playing for the Sea Bears and, every kind of organization he's played for, he's done a great job at connecting guys. So definitely, as you mentioned, the right restaurants and connecting off the court is definitely key. I try, I'm from Brampton. I've been a GTA guy my whole life. So if there's any spots that I can recommend for guys who want to go and try a certain thing, I always tell people that are new to teams because the CEBL sometimes has a lot of turnover. But, we have guys who are American, never been to Canada before. If there's anything you guys need from me that I can connect you to, I'd be happy to do it. I've been playing in the league for 5 years. So, let's stay connected, take my number. First thing, that's what I always do, man. I just try to make guys feel at home. And, I feel like that does a great, deal in terms of making guys feel comfortable right away. They're just coming off a flight and meeting a whole new team in a whole new country. So, yeah, it's just little things like that sometimes go a long way, right? So I just try to make sure to do my part in making sure that guys are comfortable and guys are connected. So
a couple of words stand out there. Turnover and championships. This Brampton team, obviously, with the exception of Prince, is very new to this city, right? And that's very hard to kind of play cards with a brand new deck sometimes. Obviously not. As you see here, 7-1 on the season, not so bad. But you obviously winning a championship with Scarborough in 2023. What do you bring, or what do you think you would bring to the table in terms of championship experience? Like, how do you kind of instill that in the team and kind of say to guys like, yeah, I've been to this spot and I know these are pro players as well, but how important is that to kind of also create that mold for them where you give them an opportunity to say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. He's been to the highest level in this league and we need to kind of follow that.
Yeah, man, I think it's, just making sure that I reinforce championship habits, and that starts every single day. It started in training camp. Coach Serta has done a great job at reinforcing that as well. He kind of came in with that philosophy about, every day coming in with championship habits, championship work ethic, and then obviously, compounding those days into something great where, at the end of the season, come August, we're in that championship game and we're, fighting for a championship to win. So, reinforcing that, holding guys accountable, leading, encouraging that vocal kind of dynamic within a team, to talk every single possession, because that goes a long way when it comes down to crunch time. And, in Elam, when, guys are tired, guys maybe forget a play, but, they're still able to be vocal and, kind of talk things through. So it's just things like that, right? Just being that leader that can make sure to remind guys that, even though it's a practice or it might seem like a boring walkthrough, like this all contributes to a championship at the end of the day. So just being sharp every time we step on the floor and coming through with some championship habits.
What was an element for you that you noticed when you were playing on the championship team in 2023 that might reflect this team? Was there any specific thing when you look back at that journey that was, sticks out as the aha moment? We really had this one thing that felt special and you believe it to be the key reason you got to a championship. And do you see that or anything similar with this team?
Yeah, I think with that 2023 Scarborough team, we were just so great of friends. I've known a lot of those guys from back when I was, young, playing with Team Canada in the youth stages. Khalif, Isaiah, Mike Kabongo is a guy you always heard of. Daniel Mullings, amazing leader, amazing teammate. But just a bunch of guys, just to name a few, right? There were just so many guys that we were all connected so well. And obviously in a short summer like the CEBL is, you got to gel really fast. And I feel like this Brampton team that I'm a part of so far, we've all gelled and come together very quickly. It's led to the success that we've had so far, but the dynamic's always great. Positive vibes in practice, guys are joking around, but when it's time to lock in, for the most part, it's been 100% locked in. It just feels like everyone has bought into the same goal, same type of destination, wanting to, bring a championship to Brampton. You could see that, with guys accepting roles, with, guys being bought into what is at stake and what we're working for. And then, obviously just being together. So definitely can see that. And that's definitely a similarity to that championship team. So hopefully that, leads to one at the end of the day.
We saw you too. I think it was a school day game, I want to say. After the game, you guys obviously pick up the dub. You're signing autographs for felt like forever, and kids are like hurting, and the teachers are like, we got to go to the bus, and everybody's just like, I think D was signing autographs too somehow. They probably got you guys confused, but what does that mean to you to have the support of the community, and especially young kids? You said youth a couple of minutes ago, but to have that support of kids that could be the next generation in the Canadian Elite Basketball League, what does that mean to kind of have them on your side of the fence?
It's super powerful. I mean, we've had a pretty good turnout at games so far, and we hope that obviously that continues and improves throughout the year too. But that school day game in particular, obviously, it's a great game and atmosphere for young kids to look up to professionals, and have them accessible to them, like I mentioned earlier, right? So, we stuck around and signed as many autographs as it took, but we just hope that we can inspire and show that it's possible to be from Brampton, play professional basketball, and go above and beyond whatever they do. So, autographs are very important to us as a team to obviously, look at supporting our fans who support us. That's been a huge thing that, Big Al and the leadership team has been, emphasizing throughout the season. So, we'll continue to do that. We're very thankful for the support, and we just hope that we can continue to inspire the next generation of young hoopers from Brampton.
Great segue to this next fact.
See, I told Joey, I knew it. I was going to do that, and that's called the alley-oop. Go ahead.
Thanks for the alley. I'll take the oop. Hey, you're an author. You've recently published a book, a children's book called Shoot for the Stars. It's an interactive coloring book. What led to this? What made you want to get into the publishing business, particularly with children's books?
It's always been a bucket kind of list thing of mine to publish a book. So a children's book was something that I just felt connected well to me in terms of, me wanting to make myself accessible to the youth and be able to impact, inspire, as we've, that's been a theme throughout. But I've never really had, just looking at my experience growing up, I didn't have the accessibility of pro guys, to be in the gym as much and, to connect with. And that's why I try and make myself accessible to be able to inspire the next generation. So if I can do that through a book and inspire someone who's passionate about basketball, likes basketball, but also, is willing to, look at the school part of things and like the title of the book says, shoot for the stars, because anything's possible. I'm a young guy from Brampton, and I was able to go to Harvard. I was able to play professional basketball, right? Like anything's really possible if you set your mind to it. My mom and my dad were always, huge believers, and my brother and I, and they told us to shoot for the stars. So it kind of just felt right in naming it that. Really proud of the fact that I was able to bring this to life. It's something I've been working on the last couple of months, and definitely hope that I can inspire some other young people to shoot for their stars.
Now, do you feel there's a missed opportunity no longer playing for the Shooting Stars?
Some people have asked me about that a little bit. It could be, who knows? But, I thought the title just made a lot of sense because I was always shooting for the stars when I was young. So that's kind of
go for the honey.
Exactly.
There you go. I was going to say, we're going to have to get Nico on the line in like 10 minutes and ask him if we can work out some sort of deal there. But like you said, Shoot for the Stars, children's interactive coloring book. And there's boys and girls versions as well.
Yes, I have.
Get a copy there? Let's see it. We're going to get a copy and we're going to put it up right here. I'm going to get one off you and we're going to toss it up. Beautiful.
Oh, that's so cool.
I got a boys and a girls version, trying to inspire both the young boys and young girls of the next gen. So
beautiful. And there's a message inside. I think you read too. You've signed or you've left a message inside each book as well.
Yeah, I try to, make it as personal as possible. I don't want it to just be a book that's off the shelves. I want to have a personal touch to it too. So, that way at least people feel a little bit more connected to me.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
Obviously your basketball journey, like we said, a lot of highs to your basketball journey, but at times you run into lows in life and things that make you a stronger person. And obviously as many in the Canadian League basketball would that know your story would know, in 2023 you were diagnosed with testicular cancer, and that was only at the age of 24. So first and foremost, we applaud your resilience in returning to the game of hoops. We think that your battle obviously was very courageous, and it's awesome that you're in the spot you are today despite going through all of that. So a big round of applause to you first and foremost.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
When you were going through all of that, how much did basketball motivate you to kind of say to yourself, I can get through this. I want to get back to the level that I know I can be at in terms of play?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, I always, I have a different level of love for the game. And, when that was taken away from me in that 2023 season, obviously we were able to have success and win a CEBL championship. It sucks that I wasn't able to play, but I was still obviously part of the team. Um, Basketball has been a love of mine, and it's been taken away from me at different points, whether it was injury. COVID actually cut a lot of my college career short. And then to be diagnosed with testicular cancer, something that obviously came out of nowhere. I never would have thought that someone young could be diagnosed with cancer. Never really learned about it really in school. Wasn't really made aware of it. It was devastating knowing that I couldn't play for the near future. Luckily enough, I caught it early, thankfully, to the advice of actually one of my best friends, my college roommate, PK. He was going through Columbia Med School, and kind of just made my college roommates and I aware of the fact that men have to check, themselves just as women do in terms of searching for breast cancer. So it's something that, in a way, almost I could say saved my life, because I never would have checked right prior to knowing about that type of personal self-checking. And then 8 months later, I actually found the testicular cancer. So underwent that journey. Luckily enough, it was early. Did a removal of one. And basically, I was out for a number of weeks. I decided not to go overseas and play that season. But, basketball was something that, has always been an outlet of mine to, be at peace and, work on something that I love. So I grinded in the gym all year and kind of got myself ready for another CEBL season, because, I didn't want my career in any way to be, cut short or label or kind of, let cancer define me in any way. So it kind of gave me some motivation to come back and get back to the player I am. And I was, and, I'm lucky to say that I was able to do that. I had a great circle behind me to support me through that. And, ended up getting back to where I wanted to be in terms of playing back in the CEBL and contributing to wins. So,
how does your perspective just generally in life and even how you approach basketball change when you go through something like that? Especially when you consider, like the life threatening aspect of it, but also a basketball career on average is not very long, and having, being forced to take a year away, to focus on your health and recover. Like, how has your perspective changed from day to day when you're heading to the gym, maybe then, compared to what it was, pre-cancer?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I joke around with a lot of people about this when they've asked me, how has my perspective shifted? But, as a young guy, you always think, oh, I got to go to practice. Practice sucks. I'd rather go play in a game. Like, we got to really mull through this. Oh, it's boring. But like after my experience with cancer, having the game taken away from me at now numerous points in my life, like I almost feel that every time I show up in the gym, I have a smile on my face and I'm ready to go, put on my hard hat and go to work, but in a fun way. Like I really look at things like it's a blessing and an opportunity to be out there on the court. It's not like, oh, this is, boring and it sucks to be able to practice, but like, yeah, that's a way that my perspective has totally changed. And, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to play the game every day that I love, and be able to do it for, a profession is even better. And, just very grateful to everyone that's kind of stood by my side, encouraged me throughout that process, because when you don't have it, it does suck. Right. But being able to, get it back and be able to play at a high level again is, it's shifted my perspective and made me really appreciative of the little things. So.
And you mentioned, obviously, you had a ton of support. Who specifically in the basketball community did you kind of maybe lean on, or someone that kind of offered a hand to help you through that journey?
Yeah, it's actually a good friend of mine, Eric Bultice. He's at King's Christian Collegiate. I was actually teaching there this past CEBL offseason. Became a really good friend of mine. Actually, every day throughout the last 3 years, we've been in the gym putting in work together in the CEBL off seasons. So he's helped prepare me the last 3 years. I actually met him after my cancer journey. And he's actually one of the people that kind of stood by my side, got me in the gym every single day, would rebound for me, put me through drills. He actually played pro back in the day too. And, his sons are actually in high school. So I work out with a lot of the high school guys, try to give them some pointers, but it's a way for me to stay in shape. It's a way for me to kind of, sharpen my game throughout the CEBL offseason. But he's someone that, has been there for me in the basketball world, from day one. So very, very thankful and grateful to him.
Before we move on to everybody's favorite segment, Target Time, I think a very important question to ask is just, or opportunity for you, rather, the message you'd like to put out to men out there when it comes to their health.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to your health, it's important to check yourself. I mean, at the ages of 18 to 35, testicular cancer is most prevalent. That's something that I think a lot of people don't know. So I would suggest once a month, you would go in the shower, hold your boys, kind of check around for anything off, unusual, hard, within your testicles, and if there is something off, you go and check it. There's no beautiful way to put it when we talk about this type of stuff, but it's important to speak about it, right? Because a lot of young men don't know that. Don't mean to scare anyone, but it's important to check, right? So if you can do that once a month, and it's better to be safe rather than sorry. So
absolutely. All right. Well, now that all the tough stuff's out of the way, appreciate you sharing all that with us. And
absolutely,
it's the fun time now. It is target time. Danilo, you ready?
Always ready for target time.
Joe, you good?
Always.
All right, let's do it. All right, time now for target time here on the Target Score Brampton podcast. It is the slowest and most relaxed form of rapid fire you will ever see. First question, Danilo, your Harvard grad, economics degree. If you had to pick one teammate to write an essay for you, who would it be and why?
This is a tough one. I got some intellectuals on the team, I would say. I see some guys. Actually, this is the first time on a team that I've seen a lot of guys reading pregame, reading on the train, reading in the hotel room. So very impressed with that. Kudos to the guys. I'll give a shout out to my boy Tegra Ize. He just got his master's. So I would say I'm going to go with the guy who has his master's to help me write an essay.
Where did you do his master's?
Southern Mississippi, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, very nice. All right, well, that's pretty good. That's not
give
bad.
Him a shout out to him. I'll give him a shout out for that.
Nice, a shout out on the first question of target time. I like it. Okay, sticking with the educational theme. Who on your team right now is most likely to ace an exam having only studied 24 hours before it?
Jeez, here we go. I think I'll give this is going to be my comparison to someone who's like sneaky, pesky on the basketball court, can get a steal here and there. I'll give it to Tyrese Hunter. I'll give him the nod on that.
All right. So Tyrese, same deal. He comes in, you put in a new play. He's like, I got this. Doesn't show up to practice. He's the guy that's going to be like, oh, shoot, I'm going to check the playbook just before we go and going to nail this.
And he does, though. So I'll give him that.
All right, we're getting away from the classroom now. I'm blowing this joint. I don't want to talk school anymore. Harvard guy, obviously. All right, Danilo, you're hanging out in Brampton on the weekend. Could be Friday, could be Saturday, could be Sunday. But it's your chill time. What's your go-to activity or thing to do? And this is your chance to plug any of these restaurants that you wanted for your fellows.
Oh, this is good. I haven't been in Brampton in a long time, actually. I grew up there, lived there the first 19 years of my life. So I spent a lot of time at Trinity Commons Mall over in my neighborhood. So I would go to Eastside Mario's a bunch. I would go to the Pizza there on the corner. The Cineplex is in that mall too. So that's where I would spend a lot of my time while I was in Brampton. Now if I would say for people, they should come to the CAA Center and watch the Honey Badgers play.
Oh my God, there we go.
Nice plug. Knock that in there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll leave it at that because I'm not too familiar with a lot of spots. A lot of things have changed since I've been there. But yeah, I would say Trinity Commons Mall was my go-to back in the day.
Joey, that was Joey's favorite spot too. Joey's never been to Brampton. I'm guessing. Joey, have you ever been to Brampton?
I go to Brampton all the time. My wife's from there.
That's
why I'm like, you don't go to the Bramley Center? Come on, man. Isn't that the only place?
Bramley, I'll go there quite a bit actually. I went to Balmoral over there in the Bramley area. So I mean, I would spend some time there, but I didn't wander the malls too much when I was there.
Okay, because my question was going to be, which entrance do you take and what parking lot do you park at Bramley Center? Because it's always wild and I never know where to go.
Oh, it is wild. I won't lie to you. It's the one that directionally I'm bad, but it's under the They have the tiered parking garage, and I'm usually try and steal a spot on the first row there, and then walk into that entrance there. I don't know. That's the best.
That's the dream. That's what I go to every time. You know how many times I parked there? Twice in 10 years. It's not easy.
Tough one for sure.
It's real tough. So I gotta learn your tactics on how to get in there. But anyway, I digress. We will stick with Brampton on this one though. Who's in your mind the either greatest or most underrated player to come out of Brampton? Whether you played with them or haven't, but like who's a player that's well known in Brampton that might not get the love nationally or internationally?
This is a really good one. Because Brampton's been a hotbed for talent for so many years, right? Like I played on CIA Bounce growing up, and we had so many D1 players come out of obviously that organization, and I know it's not around anymore, but that's tough. It's funny because Coach AC, when he came to Brampton at first and we had started talking, he was familiar with how much talent and how much NBA players and just a ton of talent coming out of Brampton. So he was very impressed with that. Man, that's tough. I can't even think of like one specific person.
It's a little on the spot for sure, but yeah, there's I don't know, even like a top 3 or whatever. It's but I see where you're coming from, because the Brampton history is so rich and so deep, especially like once the like those programs started, like you were talking about CIA Bounce, like when those programs started coming along and really putting people on the map south of the border too, right? When you're traveling south, and really kind of, you can make that argument. I think that Brampton was one of those cities that really helped kind of enhance Canadian basketball in the eyes of the Americans.
100%. Yeah, I don't know if no names are coming to mind right now.
It's okay, I'll give you a pass because I technically got 2 questions in there because we talked about the parking lot at Bramley Center, which is just great content for a podcast.
Okay, good.
The ratings just boosted.
Thank God you didn't ask me, because I would have had no idea. I didn't know Tristan Thompson grew up in Brampton. I didn't even know that. But I don't know if he was born. I don't know. I thank God you didn't ask me that. All right, let's make a hard pivot here. Danilo, if you had a party trick, what would it be? Or do you have a party trick, first of all? But if you didn't have one, what would it be?
Oh, man, this is tough. I mean, I used to know some magic tricks. I can juggle. But,
okay.
Yeah, as of right now, I'll say I don't have one, but I feel like magic is a super cool, like card tricks. I feel like that's a cool thing to do at parties. And I would probably go back and do my YouTube tutorials to get back sharp on them.
Has anybody asked you to do half-court stuff or halftime magic shows or anything yet? No juggling?
No, but I don't know if I might need to be in the locker room. Maybe the last 6 minutes when we're allowed out, I'll just do a quick rapid fire. That might be good.
Yeah.
All right, Danilo, you have your choice of any CEBL city to have an off day and off night in. Which city would that be?
Off day and off nights. That's tough.
Yeah, you're on the road. There's no practice. You guys have a full day, full night to go enjoy the city, sightsee, whatever you want to do during that day. What city would you choose to have that in?
Honestly, Calgary. Calgary's been, obviously being there in the summer. I don't know about how it is in the winter. I know it's very, very cold. But, I know we've been to Banff one time. Just being like traveling or just sightseeing around where we were in terms of the hotel, like Calgary was always beautiful to me. So I would say Calgary.
Yeah, and Calgary's like the proximity to the mountains too, like
exactly
Banff and Canmore and all those areas. Like I lived in Alberta for a year, and I think we went to the Rockies. We were living in Edmonton, mind you, so it's not like as close. But we would travel to like Banff or Jasper. Like I couldn't get enough of the Rockies, summer or winter. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Banff was just obviously one of the coolest things to see. So obviously, if I wasn't playing in the CEBL, it'd be tougher to do. So shout out to the CEBL, obviously, for granting that opportunity. But yeah, very beautiful and a great kind of touristy place to visit. So I'll give Calgary the nod on that one.
And Canada's first national park.
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't know that either. You know what a lot of guys say too is Montreal.
Oh yeah,
Montreal. A lot of people love Montreal. Yeah, I don't know if there's like a good like nightclub scene there. I don't know how that really works. Maybe a day club scene if you're Joey and during the day. Yeah, Montreal. I was waiting for Montreal to be on that on the radar there. But all right, little personal thing for you here. You're a Skechers athlete. How many
Yes.
pairs of kicks do you go through in a season?
Oh, that's a good one. My Skechers team is super great in terms of, their sneaker allowance in terms of a year. So I actually don't run through the entire amount, which is awesome. But I would say throughout a CEBL season, I'll probably go through like 4 to 5 pairs of shoes. 4 to 5 pairs. Yeah, my feet maybe are a little bit strong for the shoes, and they just rip up easy and all that. But yeah, I like to keep them fresh. And I like to sometimes wear different colorways and everything. So yeah, definitely shout out to Skechers for keeping me supplied.
Do you have a favorite pair, like favorite model?
Yeah, definitely the Skechers Full Court Press. I got them in like 6 colorways. Like they're my favorite by far. They're very similar to those who aren't on the Skechers train yet. They're similar to a Kobe shoe. Huh? So yeah, just love the way they feel. The cushion's great. Definitely the most comfortable shoes I've worn in terms of on court and off court, for sure. I wanted to actually find that comfort level, because I tore my plantar fascia while I was with Scarborough one year, and I was like, yeah, I'm going for comfort over everything now. that pain in a foot, like having to walk it's just a lot. So comfort is number one.
So this isn't my target time question, but how long does it take you to break in a shoe? Like, do you have to wear them in practice a little bit? Like, do you have to wear them in, or are you the kind of guy that just puts the shoe on and ready to go?
Puts the shoe on and ready to go. Maybe shout out to Skechers, because they're just that they're that great. You can kind of just put them on and just get to work in them. But yeah, I haven't even I've just worn Skechers fresh out the box, into games and practices, and I felt great. So
you are going to do just fine in marketing when you decide to hang up the shoes and go. You've taken 2 of our questions today and just knocked it out of the park with endorsements. So, and this is, I hope you're getting a bonus commission check on this one.
I'll have to talk to them about that. But yeah, love it. I love it.
Okay, going back to the children's book, you wrote a children's book. I'm sure there's inspiration there. So I'll tier this question. You can answer it how you want. Either your favorite children's book growing up that you still remember to this day, or your favorite children's book character or series.
This is easy. All the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. My mom always used to, actually she gave me a copy at my high school grad, just a book that she always used to love reading to me as a kid, and that stuck with me for a long time. So I wanted to have something similar to that. Actually, my mom was the first one I gave my book to, signed it with a nice message on the inside, dedicated to her. So funny enough, look who's calling me. My mom.
Oh, pick it up, this guy.
but yeah.
Her ears are burning.
Yeah, definitely. All the Places You'll Go.
The professional athletes obviously eat a ton. It's important to manage the carbs. You're working out, you're running around so much, burning energy. You gotta have fuel in the system. What's your most controversial food take?
Ooh, controversial food take.
Yeah, so something that you would maybe do or think about food-wise, and people would be like, what? Like pineapple on pizza, for example, I think is horrible, but something like that.
It's a tough one. I don't really have any. I just feel like I'm a normal person, so I don't know if I have any weird food takes like that. I've heard of some crazy ones over the years, but maybe I'll say, well, my fiance put me on celery and peanut butter. I don't know if that's controversial.
Yeah, that's controversial. That's controversial.
Is it? Really? Okay, celery and peanut butter. I like samosas and ranch sometimes. Those are pretty good. I like that mix.
Pretty good. Yeah,
I've never tried that.
Yeah, I don't seem to, those 2 off the top of my head for you.
I'll throw one out there. French fries and dipped in ice cream.
Can't do it.
That's disgusting.
You guys never done the Wendy's? You get the Wendy's Frosty and you dip your fries in the Frosty?
No chance.
No. As Danilo just said, we're normal. We're normal people.
Yeah, you're on that. Maybe not totally.
Fun out here in Winnipeg. That's maybe just.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm not taking any more hits on them. It's the only one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good stuff. Well, thank you, Danilo. You hit the target time winner. Thanks for joining us. And again, you're in action on Wednesday against Montreal on the road. That's your time to kind of give us a review of Montreal away from home.
I will, 100%. I'll come back on the next part of the podcast and we'll talk about it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Matt and
Thanks for
Joey,
doing it.
appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Whew, what an awesome chat with Danilo Djuricic. That was just everything we could have asked for. Special guy, special player, and again, a hometown kid.
Yeah, dude, we could have talked to for 2 hours. I mean, this podcast is already running pretty long as it is, but it was tough to cut that down to the amount we did. Just an interesting dude. Crazy story. And just, yeah, Brampton's really lucky to have a hometown guy playing at home like that. I think he's a good role model out there for sure.
Salt of the earth kind of guy. Quick reminder, you can watch the Honey Badgers on Wednesday night in Montreal. Games on CBC Gem, CBC/CEBL YouTube. And then, of course, next episodes and content every Wednesday. Content constant with new guests as well. You can follow Target Score Pod on Instagram, Target Score Podcast on YouTube. And you can also, as one altogether, thank Joey, Founding Father Slattery, for joining us today. Thank you, Joey.
No problem, man. Thanks so much for having me on. You guys have been crushing it out in Brampton. It's been awesome to watch you guys. You and D have a ton of chemistry. Sorry you had to deal with Discount D, but I hope I kept his little seat warm.
Hey, you know what? Discount bin's always the best. And in this case, it's an upgrade. No offense, D. Full offense, D. Anyway, awesome. Thanks, Joey. Always a blast, my friend.
Thank you.